So I know Terrifier would be at the forefront. I mean, the film blew up, but like I didn't want to go without talking about like Stream.
Right.
And you also mentioned that we can come back to like kind of like wearing different hats with filming Stream.
Yeah.
But for me, like I went back into the IMDb like today and was just like how because I watched it a few months ago for the second time and was just like
Oh,
how
thanks
many
for watching.
people. No, I always like for sure like actually I'm gonna quick side note here. I was streaming Screamboat the other day,
Oh, very
and
nice.
yes, and my wife who like is into horror, but like she passed out earlier. She put my daughter to sleep. She walked down, semi spoiler, when there was a penis rolling on the ground.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Um,
please don't tell me she walked in during that scene, but
yeah, yeah,
at least she came
but
in
she's
after that scene
yeah.
and came in, yeah, during that
I
scene.
mean, she was good with it, but she was kind. It was kind of like rubbing her eyes. She's like, "What the fuck are you watching?"
Yeah, right. What kind of movies are
Yeah.
you into, dude? Yeah, right.
But so I watched Stream again a few months ago, and I was like, you got
And your
like
wife walked in during the hot tub scene and
yeah,
was
just
like, "What are
always
you
like
watching?"
always walking in on those scenes for some reason, right? But you have like Danielle Harris, Jeffrey Combs, Tony Todd even makes a cameo, Tim
Yeah.
Curry. Like it's just like if you can like gather the all-star cast of like horror legacies, everybody's in this one film. So was there like did it change from your experience like working with these legendary characters, in terms of like it's almost like it's still a very indie production, but you have all these big names on there. Like, how did that impact filming at all, or even giving a little bit of leeway with like what they did on camera in terms of like improving some parts or like ad-libbing?
Yeah, so this is like a multi-layered
Yeah, sorry, I stacked
question.
this one up.
No, no, totally fine, totally fine. You should see my first bullet note for this question is talk about how I don't know any actors, so I don't really get starstruck. Like
Perfect. Yeah.
literally, like we're side tangent. We're running a convention, a horror convention in September in Syracuse, New York, called Scaricon. And we
Okay.
have these weekly meetings about celebrity guests that we're bringing in.
Yeah.
And the other members of the team will be like, "Oh, well, let's bring in so and so, and let's bring in this." And I'm just like sitting there like Googling like, "Who is that?" And they're like, "Jamie, you need to start learning who these people are." And I'm like, "Guys, first of all, I wasn't born in the 80s. I was born in 91. Okay.
Yeah.
Second of all, I don't know names. I'm a faceless person. I don't know
Yeah.
names. Like
Yeah.
they can tell me the same person's name over and over, but until I see them and I interact with them, I'm not going to know who they are. So getting
Yeah.
starstruck for me is not a very common thing because I don't know who anyone is. So I just treat them the same way I treat everybody, which
Cool.
hopefully is in a respectable manner.
Yeah.
Um, but so talk about COVID and how actors have different preferences. Okay. So for Stream specifically, we were shooting during COVID.
Yeah.
That was really challenging because some of our bigger actors had very specific preferences with
Mm.
masking. I mean, we had to wear masks for 18 hours every day.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
But
I teach, so I was like, they had me in the
like
classroom at
full
one point. Like
PPE, yeah.
like the mask and shield and just like yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
I think my brains repressed a lot of that, and that's why I actually forgot that because like
we shot during COVID,
being
yeah.
a fan, seeing like there was clips and like oh it was being shot, and I forgot that that was actually during COVID.
Yeah, we haven't forgotten because we were taking tests. I remember one time I was in my bathroom taking a test and I was so nervous. You would have thought that I was taking like a pregnancy test. I was scared to death. I was like, if I have COVID, I'm gonna have to go home. I'm not gonna like they're like, how is this production gonna run? Like, what happens
There's a
if I
different
get
pressure than that because like yeah, when you mentioned that like that's your livelihood, right? Like that's the project, it's a schedule,
right? It
it's
was 6 weeks. It's 6 weeks of in that hotel together, and then of course we had
yeah.
so many more shoot days afterwards, like with pickups. Um, but yeah, I didn't have COVID. Spoiler: I've never gotten COVID. Knock on wood.
Wow, you're
Um,
like just super immune system over here. Like wow,
yeah,
like
probably
I've
not
got at
because
least 22 times. Like
seriously, I mean, I don't think I've gotten it that I know of at least. Maybe if I took
yeah.
like a test to see if I have the antigens, I don't know. Is that still a thing?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
I've
stopped
every
testing
time
a
I've
long
tested,
time ago.
yeah, every time I've tested for COVID, it's come back negative,
Okay.
thankfully. So that was challenging because some actors were like, I don't care. I'm not wearing a
Hmm.
mask, whatever. That's
Hmm.
fine. We were a little bit more like we wore the masks and did all the right protocols because we have so much money and our livelihoods at stake.
Of course.
But if it were up to us, like we probably would have been like, no, we're not going, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And we were quarantining at the hotel. Like we
Well, that's
didn't
what I was
leave.
gonna say next was like, did people sign on knowing that like while you're filming in that block, like
Yeah,
you're in the hotel anyway, like you're
yeah,
filming.
yep,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So we like if you're in type thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and the actors coming in, I think they knew like we were a smaller team. So at this point, Terrifier 2 hadn't like blown up yet.
Yeah.
So because it was still being edited.
In the
So
hotel room.
in the
Mhm.
hotel room.
Yeah.
So they kind of like they kind of knew. I think actors know like this isn't like a Lionsgate or like a MGM. Like this is
Yeah.
Buzz on the Lens. Let me Google them. They've done a couple things. At the time they've done a
Yeah.
couple things. Whatever. So they come in and a lot of the actors are are older in the sense of I mean they're like 80s actors, like
Yeah.
when did Cujo come out? When did ET come out? When did like the
Yeah.
for Dee Wallace, like Danielle
Yeah.
Harris, Halloween, like that was, like those are older movies. So I think that they're just happy to be working right now in a role that is like a realistic role, like something that
Mhm.
they actually could really like get into. I mean, Danielle's character is a mom. And Danielle's a mom, so she can
Yeah.
relate. And I think they were excited on that front. Uh, just knowing that they were working during COVID. Who's doing that? Who's
Yeah.
acting during COVID? So even if it's not like this huge elaborate movie, it's like, all right, cool, yeah,
You're
this will be
working.
fun. This will be
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, it'll be fun, and we're working. I'm getting paid to do what I love to do. Let's do it. So
Yeah.
everyone was really cool to work with on that front. Really like accommodating and
Nice.
some of the people did improv. I know Dave Sheridan during the arcade scene.
Yeah.
I know he was improving quite a
Okay.
bit. He was fun. I have some fun behind the scenes videos of him like laying on the ground, just like face covered, like just mute. His face is just mutilated, and he's like
Yeah.
singing. He's just like laying on the ground, just like singing, like whatever. It was just so funny.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So some of them they were having a good time just being a part of it, I think. And everyone was just I really don't feel like there was any like bad apples or any like
Yeah.
issue. Of course, certain actors have their thing, have they certain Danielle Harris wanted cereal in her hotel room, which like okay, easy, whatever.
Huge
You
request. I mean,
right, yeah, not a big deal. You want cereal? Okay,
yeah.
like easiest thing
Yeah.
ever. I like
Yeah.
cereal. Like I'll get you cereal. Um, so yeah, they were pretty accommodating, pretty easy to work with, and I think they saw our potential. I mean, we were doing a 12-hour day is an early day for
Yeah.
us on stream.
Okay.
Our longest day, which I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but it's already done. But our longest day was 21 hours. I mean,
Wow.
it's brutal with effects and stuff. So I think they saw how hard we were working and what we were doing and wanted to just like be a part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
we were having so much fun. I mean, we were having a blast doing it despite, not sleeping and working till we were
But I feel
dying.
like with the amount of like big names or cast on there, I think there's two things I take away from this. Like A, like being able to interview some people, like it's helped me realize that at the end of the day, it's like we romanticize a lot of these things, especially if you're like a horror fan. But like this is like someone who's trying to do work and like they're an actor or actress and like
Hmm.
that's what they do. So first of all, it's like a job that they're gonna
It's a
do that.
job. Yeah.
But at the same time, like I do feel like in Stream, um, it easily could have been a movie where you just felt like every cameo was shoehorned in there for the sake of having a face or a name.
Well,
And it feels like everybody has like a genuine role and it's fun, whether it be big or small. And you mentioned like Danielle Harris now like as a mother, and I was like, that makes like perfect sense. Like that's exactly like you know what I mean, like where she's at in her life.
in her
So
life. Yeah.
it did feel authentic. It didn't feel like you're just throwing things together for the sake of saying you have all these names.
Which is
Um,
funny that you bring that up because some of like the backlash we've gotten from stream because you can't make everyone happy
yeah,
obviously
of
was
course.
that like oh they have so many names and like no real roles or whatever and it's like all right dude you make a movie during COVID but
But also like what you said, I want to bring it back like to the Terrifier thing. It's like you're making a movie like when with Terrifier, whether it be like a movie about a killer clown or Stream, like this is horror, and like one of my favorite people in the industry is like Joel Bob Briggs, right? And when he
I
talks
hear
about
about
like
him so much.
yeah, and when he
I
talks about
just
like
learned who he was.
so when he talks about like 80s horror, he's like everyone's getting real fucking philosophical about what's going on. He's like, this is a movie about like something like ridiculous. Like people are having fun and doing this, and there always has to be some highbrow fucking person. And like, I know I'm kind of going off a tangent, but like who just has to like shit on something. And you're like, yo, this is fun. Like if you're a horror fan, I think if you're going in like with like no judgment, Stream is an amazing fun time. The
It's
story's fun.
entertaining. It's
Yeah.
entertaining. That's what we're there to do. We're there to entertain you. And
Yeah.
it has its it has its flaws, but like just like the first Terrifier did, and
Yeah.
hopefully with Stream 2 we'll iron those out. And um it's just funny because some people like it makes me it just brings me back to like you can't make everyone happy.
No.
You can't. So there's
Yeah.
no point in trying. There's no point in trying to please everyone. We are trying to make the movies that we want to see. Like we're
Yeah.
trying to tell the stories that we want to see being told.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. And if people don't like that, well, like thankfully it's a free country, and you're not forced to watch our movies. Like,
Yeah.
sorry,
It's those
I'm
people
sorry
who
we
seem to be
wasted an hour of your time.
yeah, but some people are like really committed to things they seem to dislike. I'm like, why do you spend so much time on these things you dislike? But yeah, like I mean, like you want to go into like music, anything. Like there could be an album where like move me to tears. I'm like, wow, like what an album. Someone's like, this is complete shit, and
Oh,
they have they're rambling about why the movie was shit or why the album was shit. And like you said, even if there's flaws, I mentioned Halloween earlier, right? But it's like if you watch things, there's like these like it's like a budget film at the time, and you can see like whether it was like John Carpenter having a cigarette and like smoke's coming into the frame, or like things that are out of place, or there's like there's a lack of continuity, and so and you're like it is what it is, and it's fun, and it's a horror movie, and that's why we're here, and that's why when you go to conventions and people are having a good time, it's because like that's what it's about, like not to get like super prudish about the film. Like I know obviously critics have a job because they have like that's what they do, but just like
right.
yeah, I think just sometimes people
And it's
lose
kind of
sight of
funny.
what it's meant to be.
It's kind of funny what you were saying about how people assign all of this like symbolism and stuff too. It's funny because I'm like secretly in like the Terrifier Reddit group and like the Terrifier groups just to like see what people say.
Yeah.
And so many people have these like wild theories like, did you guys notice this and this and this? And like me like knowing really what's happening, or like we didn't shoot this because like we didn't have enough time, or like we didn't do this because of this reason. And I'm just like, wow, people really take things and just run with it. And like that's cool, let them, because
Yeah.
if you're talking about it, great. Like my job's done. You know what I mean? Like our job's done. If you're talking about it, that's good for us. But it's just so funny how people they like they get into like the psychology of it, and in the end, Damien's like, it's a killer clown movie. Like
Yeah.
it's a movie about a maniac, like supernatural killer clown. Like it's not that deep,
Yeah.
But I just love seeing these theories of like, oh my god, what if art is this and that, and I know that he did this, or that Sienna's part of that. It's just like, oh my god, dude, that like
Yeah.
good on you for coming up with that. That's more than I would have done.
Yeah, going down some strange rabbit holes, and I'm like, yeah, but I guess like you said, like once you put art out there, like the pun not intended, you put art out there in the world, people take it for what they think it
Right.
means, and they run with it.
Right,
Um,
exactly. Exactly.
um, so the last movie we need to touch on is Screamboat. And I'm gonna top up my whiskey here while we're talking about this, but like,
I'm gonna do
so
the same thing.
yeah, so Screamboat. I won't say as much because it just came out on streaming. I don't know if it was in Canada in terms of theater. I would have loved to see that in theater just because the experience of like being with other people who are that committed to watch it. But I did stream it the other night, right when it came out, and like wild ride. But now thinking about like, so I'm watching this knowing I'm going to talk to you
Mhm.
tonight, and like what filming looked like. So first question, was it actually filmed on a ferry?
Oh yeah, yeah. In Staten
Okay.
Island. Yep.
Because I'm so used to seeing things like, and we'll get into it later about being from Toronto, and people are like, "Oh, like we're in New York City or we're here, and I'm like, no, that's this place in Toronto, and
Yes.
like I can tell you exactly where it's filmed because like I grew up around the city. But like so I thought like Staten Island is like a big deal, like you know you're in New York and it, like, there's ferries, and I wasn't sure if you were actually able to secure
hmm
filming in Staten Island on a ferry, but so that's confirmed.
Yeah, yeah, we filmed on the ferry on one of the ferries, decommissioned ferry on Staten
Okay,
Island. So it was docked the whole time.
okay,
There was one night that we did shoot on the Staten Island ferry as it was moving, a different
okay.
ferry than what we normally were shooting on. And that was like when we got those like nice like sunset scene, like or
Yeah,
what
that makes
was
sense.
it? Actually, you know what? It was the sunrise because it was like 5 in the morning.
Mhm.
But in the movie, I think it's sunset. Um, but
Movie magic, baby.
movie magic. But so yeah, we shot on a ferry. I don't know if I can say whose ferry it was, but you can Google it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can see. But yeah, the majority of it was on that ferry. Yep.
So was there any kind of like challenges, but it was docked, right? Because originally I thought of like a ferry moving
It
and
was
movement.
docked. It was docked, yeah.
Okay. In terms of like that film there, did you have the same role as like assistant director? Was it the same?
No, no, no. They actually brought in their production team from LA.
Okay.
So the director is from LA, or maybe not from LA, but he's actually from Staten Island, but he's in
Okay.
LA. So he brought his LA team, like production team. So their first AD, their second AD, their second, so on and so forth,
Yeah.
from LA, which I'm so grateful for because I don't like ADing. I only do it for the fuzz with the fuzz guys because they're like my family, and
Yeah.
I like to say I know how to handle them, but somehow I still end up crying a lot. So I don't know. But spoiler
You're,
alert.
I will send you more Kentucky hugs. Like
Yeah.
when you go into Terrifier
You know what?
4.
Yes, when I go to Terrifier 4, I want to commission you for a Kentucky
Listen,
hug.
I always want to share like so like we were talking beforehand. No, there's no sleep guys, Brendan and Graham, and
Mhm.
like I sent Graham some whiskey the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, thank you so much." I'm like, "Dude, I've been in a fortunate position where I have so much whiskey that if I stopped buying or receiving whiskey, I'd be good for a long time, at least a year." I mean, like,
So if prohibition in the states
yeah,
happens again,
yeah.
we know
So
where to go.
my whole thing is like I enjoy sharing and like when there's like, especially when there's curiosity and I love like kind of curating that stuff. But the whole point is like let me know when you're going out to film. I'm gonna send you a care package of just
Shut up.
no for sure.
That
Like
would make the whole production for me. I would be
I
so
will
happy.
Screamboat. So then what was your involvement?
Right. Okay. So Screamboat, I came on as a first assistant camera, which
Okay.
they typically pulls focus. If you already know that, then I'm sorry for explaining things you already know. But so first AC typically like will pull focus, like build the camera, assist with whatever camera needs, take measurements, notes, whatever. But then the schedule,
Mhm.
uh, which wasn't my department, the schedule, it was so shooting effects takes a lot of time
Yeah,
because
as you've learned.
yes.
Yeah.
So I forget exactly how long the principal photography was originally, but it probably should have been an extra like 7 days, and we didn't have that built into the schedule, so we had to
Wow.
break into units. So while our DP Steve Delasala was
Mhm.
shooting with the one AC, I ended up second unit directing and camera operating the second unit. So
Wow. Okay.
me and three or four other people were shooting other scenes simultaneously. So when I
Wow.
finally saw Screamboat in theaters, I was like, I had no idea this scene happened. I mean, like the scene
Yeah.
with the girl and the getting chopped off with,
Yeah.
I had no idea. I was like, whoa, when did I wasn't there for that. I was filming other things. So it was kind of cool to see it all come together, like
Yeah.
final cut in theaters, because some of the scenes I wasn't there for because I was shooting other scenes. So it
That's
was
cool.
cool. So yeah,
I
coming on from an assistant camera to a director credit is I was really I was pretty stoked about that.
That's awesome. And I mean like but again like your versatility and I guess like doing what you've been doing for 10 years now, almost 10 years,
Right.
has really like lent to that where you can jump into these different roles and make it
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, I'm grateful. And honestly, I think that's part of the reason that our group is so tight knit is because we all are so versatile. We're kind of like the Swiss Army knife of
Yeah.
of, roles here where I can do camera, I can do lighting, directing, assistant directing, whatever. I can't really do sound that well. So um sorry about that one,
Can't
but
do it all. I mean,
I know, right? You gotta fail somewhere. No,
yeah.
but that's something I love about my team is that we're all directors, so we all have that sort of like which is good and bad because sometimes we tend to overstep where
Yeah.
we'll be like, oh, I don't think that works, but what? And it's like, well, hold on a second, like let the
Yeah.
director, like let Damien make that
Okay.
decision. Like we're not
Yeah.
like, hold on, we need to make sure that we kind of stay in our lane, and that can kind of get a little discombobulated sometimes, but overall, it's nice to have this trust in this group of people that know how to direct actors, how to like light shots and frame up shots and
Yeah.
knows how to build a camera. So that's something I think that's really unique about our team is that we're very versatile. Each of us individually are very versatile, and that I think brings a lot of talent to the table.
For sure. And I mean, like I said, like it's obvious that, everybody can kind of like step in where needed. And like you said, yeah, it really is just like this group project, like it's really good. It's the school, like not the teacher, me speaking at all, but it's
No,
like
please.
but it's like, yeah, it's like the school project, like where you really have like, it's rarely happens. We have that group where like everybody kind of knows what to do and you can step in and whatever is needed and then make it happen to get the best final product. And it seems like
Right.
that's what continually happens when you guys, especially like the Fuzz on the Lens group, like does these projects and whatnot that like you work towards making it happen, whatever which way it takes to get there, which is
Right.
awesome.
Right. Yeah. I always have like I have this like mantra that whatever it takes. That's sort
Yeah.
of like what we go by. I mean, that's why when we are shooting 12 hours and we go into the 14th hour, we're not over here like union status, like, where's our overtime? Like, we're like,
Yeah.
no, we got to get the shot. If you want to go home, go home.
Yeah.
But we're no one's keeping you here, but like, we're going to get this done. And which probably isn't the best from an AD perspective, but I'm just like, I'm on board. Like, whatever it takes,
Yeah.
we're going to get it done. We want it to be as good as it can be. So that's
Yeah.
what and if that needs 2 more hours to get that done, then that's what we're going to do. And
I
that's
feel
sort
I
of
feel
like
like
that grittiness in us.
but yeah, but again, it's like that, yeah, like that grittiness, that like passion that goes into it. I feel like a film like Screamboat, I don't know if it could have been something 10 years ago. But just like with like where what you guys have, I think have even started with this momentum of different films being made, that it's just like this like raw genuine passion about people producing, like you said, like what you love and what you want to do. And I think that translates when I see you guys take pictures on the red carpet and like you post those things, like I get to know, I'm getting to know you now,
Mhm.
and whatnot, but like I'm happy for you. You know what I mean? Like you're like when Screamboat comes out and I see all these red carpets, I'm like, the fact that like people are going to theater, watching a cool, fun movie like this, and you get to do your red carpet moment and like the whole team is there. I'm like, that is awesome. That is cool. And like it's like I'm like rooting for you guys just to keep continuing this success.
Thank you so much. That means so much to us. Like honestly, I know the whole team would be really really humbled, and that means the world to us. Seriously.
Um, so a couple of things because I'm gonna be mindful of time. Even though we both don't really have plans after this. But a couple of things before we wrap up, okay? So first thing is that I'm from Toronto. I obviously had to deep dive your Instagram and like saw that you were in Toronto in March, I guess. So
Yes.
what brought you? Because you were doing some Degrassi sightseeing, which I like was very fond to me. And I thought like you were like a regular, like that, like you just kind of pop into Toronto whenever. Like so what brought you here, and are you coming back? And then if so, can I give some suggestions for where you go eat and drink next?
Okay, I first of all, I would love suggestions because
Yeah.
we learned that like you can't ask like the certain local people because they'll just tell you like right around the corner type thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I was in Toronto for I was filming a conference just for this PR firm. Basically,
Okay.
it was basically just like contract work to film this
Mhm.
conference. It wasn't for like a movie or anything like spectacular on that front. Um, but when we were there, my like coworker, my colleague, he was like, uh, we got to go see Degrassi. We got to go do something Degrassi related. And I was like, well, we
Yeah.
have like an hour and a half. So like, let's figure this out. And he did all the research. He ordered the Uber and everything. He was like, we're gonna go to Degrassi Park. I just want to sign with the Degrassi sign, and like that's probably all we can like afford to do with our limited time frame. And I was like, all right, bet, let's do it. I'm there. And so we went. But I did watch Degrassi growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure because like it's like you feel like sometimes you're in a bubble. Like I
Oh
always
yeah.
joke that like Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I
I
love
thought,
them.
but I thought they were just Canadian. And they're actually American owned, but they were all filmed in Toronto. So,
I
well,
didn't know that.
yeah. So I would watch stuff growing up, and like I forget which episode, but like they're at a castle, and I'm like, oh, that's Casa Loma, that's downtown Toronto, and I went there on a field trip. So I was like, oh, this is a local show, and it wasn't until like later on that I realized, oh, it's like actually like an American production company, and just I guess the Canadian tax credits in terms of like filming that's kind of happened throughout the years in history of film, but like, yeah, I learned later that it was like no, it's actually like shown in the States and it's an American company, but I thought it was like this local Canadian show.
I didn't know
So
that they were shot in Canada. That's
yeah, I will meet up. We're gonna do like a Goosebumps. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark? Check this out. What's his name? The leader of the Midnight Society. Glasses. Um,
I don't
he's
know
my
anybody. I
yeah
don't
yeah
know
yeah. We
names.
talk about face,
Remember?
but anyways, the main guy from Are You Afraid of the Dark is my weatherman. So
Are you kidding me? Okay, so next time I come to Toronto, I
yeah,
probably will be there next year for probably the same conference to shoot.
okay,
But this time I'm gonna book a couple extra days
yeah,
into my stay, and we're meeting up and we're gonna go to
yes.
these places, and you can show me these whiskey places, and it's gonna be great.
We're gonna drink. We're gonna do some sightseeing.
Yes, yes.
I'm excited for this. I almost hate that it's like 1 year out, but it's okay. It'll happen fast and
Dude,
it'll be
time
great.
goes by so fast. It's actually that's you want to talk about a horror story? Time. Time is happening.
Yeah.
Time is moving. That's scary.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, like it'll feel like 2 months have gone by, and you're like, hey, so I'm in Toronto next week. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta open up my schedule, and
Dude, it is crazy. I saw this meme that was like, oh God, hold on. I'm not going to do it any justice, but it's May right now. So it was like,
yeah,
wow, I can't believe we're 5 months into the first 2 weeks of this year or something like that. And I started laughing because I was like, dude, this year has flown
yeah.
by.
And
Where did it go? Like, what happened?
I always joke that like, and I mean it's true. Like each year I get older, the year goes by faster, which is kind of like not nice and grim. Like it's like
Oh,
how fast am I?
that's a real thing. There's science behind that because
Oh
like
wow,
to get real quick about it.
yeah,
For example, when you're 5, 1 year of your life is only is 20% of your life, right? If my math is mathing right.
okay.
Um,
I suck at math, so I'm just gonna keep telling you
right, yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah.
So if you're 5, 1 year, that's 20% of your life. But as you get older, those percentages, because you're getting older, those percentages get smaller and smaller and smaller and
Hmm.
smaller. And then that makes total sense why everything feels like it's going by so fast. And
Yeah.
also, I also kind of attribute things like social media, like how many times, how much, like how often are we not being mindful and present and just like doom scrolling or on Facebook or drinking whiskey on a screen with somebody in another
Yeah,
country. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
yeah.
No, but seriously, I feel like back when I was like a kid before smartphones, and not to completely blame that, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just feel like I was so much more present and mindful of like what was like aware of like what I was experiencing in the moment.
I always think of like summer. So I mean like here I mean no matter where you're at, I think summer roughly as like when you're in school is like 2 months, right? Like from
Right.
grade school to high school. And like those 2 months felt like an eternity. Like you and your friends hanging out and like doing whatever you want to do, and
Mm-hmm.
sleepovers and going to meet up with friends and a
Yep.
party. And 2 months was forever. And now you're like 2 months with like you blink, it's done. And I think it's
You're
just
like
like
booking plans 2 months from now because you're so booked. You're like,
yeah.
oh, can you do August? They're like, Jamie, it's May. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Couple other things I want to get out of the way. So Damien has been very vocal about um kind of like if he had the power to do any project, he kind of mentioned that he would love to do the reboot of Friday the 13th.
Hmm.
And when he mentioned that, I was like, I hope now that's a sticky franchise. I know enough.
Hmm.
Speaking to like Ben and doing this and because he has to get like licensing for
Yeah.
franchises and whatnot, and just like how messy Friday the 13th is. Now, I'm gonna pray because I feel like when I thought about a new Jason and Damien being behind it, I'm just like, yes, like I hope that that happens. But for yourself, um, is there a franchise that you would love to work on in terms of like maybe it's because something that stuck out to you growing up? I know you're like well, kind of fittingly, you were a Pennywise and It fan, um, and even got into the novelization not too long ago.
Oh,
But like,
yeah. Wow. Good memory.
I try my best.
Wow.
You're
Yeah.
taking your time. I got to do some research, but yeah, is there one that sticks out to you where like if you got to like, and maybe there's not even a huge like crazy connection because sometimes I think about like childhood connection, but maybe just one that you're like, yo, I like if I had some kind of creative freedom with it, like I could do some cool stuff.
So, okay, it's kind of funny that you bring this up because franchise wise, not really. I mean, growing up, I was into horror, but I never had like that one franchise that I was like obsessed with, like
Yeah,
Friday the 13th or Halloween or like the Leprechaun or anything. I
yeah.
liked them all, but I wasn't like this is it for me.
Hmm.
However, I recently not I didn't recently, years ago, I read and this isn't a franchise, so I don't really know if this qualifies, but I read a Stephen King book called The Long Walk, and
Yeah.
I loved it. And then I recently just reread it again, like maybe like 5, 6 months ago, and I was like, I wish I could direct this movie because I can see it in my head. I know how it would be. I know the trailer. I know all of it. It would be fucking amazing. It would be
Yeah.
great. I know who I would cast. And then a couple months later, I found out that they had shot The Long Walk and the trailer came out today.
I saw your story today. Yeah. As you're saying this, I'm like, I saw your story today. And now it makes perfect sense as to why you felt the way that you do.
Oh my God. And especially with like the effects team that we have, like we could have, oh my God, we could have done so much with it. We
Yeah.
really could have. That would have been such a cheap, like an inexpensive movie to make
Yeah.
because it's all different locations, but really one location. They're walking,
Yeah.
unless you get to the flashbacks and stuff. But oh man, I was so excited. Well, actually, you know what? I wasn't really excited. I was a little like apprehensive but curious. And then when I saw the trailer, I don't know. I don't know who directed it, so they're probably way better than I will ever be, so I shouldn't say anything, but God, I was so disappointed.
I would beg to differ. I feel like but like you said, I feel like what's cool about your camp is that you're kind of garnering this attention and I mean even with like with Terrifier, I don't know if it was two or three, but then like Stephen King kind of posted
Oh
some
yeah,
tweets about
yeah.
yeah, and I think
Terrifier
it's
2
cool.
grossing you out old school.
Yeah, and yeah. So, but I'm like, that's cool. Like, it's being seen.
Hmm.
So I feel like this is like you guys are spearheading this movement where, like I said, everyone's longing for the nostalgia of like what horror once was, and like your camp is doing that with all these films. So I just hope that like people keep giving the attention, the funding, like the opportunities to keep doing these things because like it's kick ass and it's just so good. And like I said, instead of like longing over what it once was, like we have it right in front of us. All these things that we kind of romanticize, like it's happening with what you guys are doing.
Well, that's one of the things I like about Stream is that we're trying to build a franchise like what Terrifier did, like build a new retro style franchise, like a
Mhm.
new story, new school horror, but in that like nostalgic 80s style with the
Mhm.
practical effects, with that like with like the lighting and that like 80s synth vibe. So
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do with Stream. We'll see what
Um,
happens.
so one of the other things was you mentioned your pop being like a pivotal character in your life, and kind of being behind your success and kind of supporting you. Was there like one moment where like, um, that like you really realized that like you had kind of like made a huge step and made it, and that like, he recognized that in this journey and kind of like you pursuing what you love doing?
Um, I think my family, like once my family's always been very supportive of me. Um, my pop especially has been always supportive of my dream and my goals, and he's always said like, make sure you treat people respectfully and like make sure you have a good reputation and stay classy and all of these things.
Hmm.
Um, my family, the industry's hard. If you're not in it, it's kind of like it'd be like, oh, how's business? Like you're doing good, you're making money, you're working, all right, cool. But then
Yeah.
once they see like the red carpet photos and all of like the payoff stuff, the stuff that like to me isn't really nearly as important as like the camaraderie and like doing what we love. I
Yeah.
think that's when they were like, oh shoot, like that's my daughter, sister, cousin, friend, whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, that's so cool. And I think that's when they like were like, oh wow, like wow, Terrifier is big. Like that's a big thing. They see the stats and like, wow, Jamie, like that's a I'm proud of you. They
Yeah.
saw my name on the screen and they're like, whoa, like for people that aren't in it, like that's to them we're like, wow, Jamie, like you did it, you made it. Where I'm over here like, oh my God. Oh man. Um, yeah, it's if you're not in the industry, you don't understand like the
Yeah.
freelance lifestyle. And for me, like I'll never feel like I've made it. Like
Yeah.
I could probably have directed like 6 movies. Like the only time I probably would feel like if I've ever made it would be like standing up being like, I'd like to thank the Academy, which like I don't think that'll ever happen, which is fine by me. But like maybe then I'd be like, okay, cool. Like I'm a
Yeah.
filmmaker. But until then I'm like, Jamie, you're a wannabe filmmaker. Like I have like the worst imposter
No.
syndrome. But that's
It
everybody. That's everybody though in this industry, really. Like everyone's
yeah.
like everything I do sucks.
Yeah. I think because like if you look at like the Academy and all these things, it's such a small finite percentage of like people who are really like making bank and living off of this stuff. Like we like to think that it's a
Right.
ton of people, but like yeah, people in film like you're like, okay, Terrifier is done. I'm gonna go film this conference because they're gonna pay me good money to go out there and
Right.
film it. You're
Or
like, well, it's
shoot
not a
weddings or do
feature.
whatever.
Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
feature film, so I'm not. You're like, yo, I gotta pay rent. I gotta
I
make
gotta
money. I
live.
gotta,
I gotta take care of my dog.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
but
dogs.
yeah, right. But I learned that first of all, like as someone that's a very experienced Photoshop artist, I don't
Yeah,
believe anything I see online. So like sure, red carpet photos are cool, but we don't know the depth and the story behind that. We don't know that like the fact that at the Screamboat premiere, Getty didn't post my photos because I'm a nobody. So like they didn't want to post my photos, which is fine. They took the photos, they didn't post them.
Ah,
But like so like there's all this like stuff that happens that people don't know or don't see. And
mm,
so when I'm doom scrolling, not that I do that, I try to manage the amount of time I spend scrolling,
yeah,
but I have a very thankfully like clear vision of the fact that like what you see isn't always what is reality online. So just because someone's looks like they're booking these things or doing these cool interviews or being invited to these podcasts and doing all this cool stuff, that doesn't mean that they're happy or that that's
yeah,
the actual reality. Like the red carpet
absolutely,
photos are cool, but like what else happened that night that didn't, what had to happen to get to that point? Like no one knows the full story. And so it's really something to just kind of like keep you in line with like reality, like keep
yeah,
your reality in check and not to start to feel like shitty about yourself because you don't know what their story is or like what they're battling or how much debt they're in. Like you have no
yeah,
idea. So yeah.
yeah. You're really. It's like it's just like the tip of the iceberg always. And I need to take your advice a little bit better because even dabbling and doing something like my like again imposter syndrome like in terms of what I do on here the most like and I know that I've gotten to do cool things and talk to awesome people.
Under oath. I'm proud of
Yeah,
me freaking under
yeah.
oath.
Yeah, if you weren't aware of our pre-game chats, but um but yeah, I have the worst imposter syndrome, and I'm the first one to like. Sometimes I'll get caught up in like you have like 100 good comments on something you're doing, and one person's like, "That guy's an idiot. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about." And then, but as you mentioned, like there's always going to be a negative person. But yeah, you really have no
But
clue.
yeah, and our brains are hardwired. Like it's on our DNA to focus on the negative. It's a survival instinct. So like
Yeah.
I have like on like my short film Densmore, there's like 200 comments like this is so great. Like awesome. Can't wait to see more. Blah, blah. And then there's the one that was like, this is a waste of time. This fucking sucks. What are you doing? Kill yourself. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Always kill
And like,
yourself. Like,
right, right. You know, because that'll make everything better, right?
yeah.
So that's like you got to focus on. You got to just like you can't take that stuff to heart like that. And I know like I'm a hypocrite saying that because sometimes like I see those comments and I'm like shit like am I a bad film like but you just have to
Yeah.
let it go and give it to God and just be like all right it
Yeah.
is what it is it is what it is
That's
I
it.
guess I'm a bad filmmaker I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just like, you know what? Like you're doing what a lot of people aren't. And I think like, like there was like a musician that I was listening to recently and he was talking about it and he goes, everyone has an opinion, everyone's saying things, but are they doing it? And if they're not, fuck off. Like you're not like
Right.
you're not part of it. And is everything going to be a hit? Is everything going to appease everyone? No. But
Never,
you're in it and
never.
you're doing something you love, and that's all that matters is that you're putting that out and you're regardless of how hard it is, you're making a life and a livelihood out of it. So
But that fear, I think, can be paralyzing for a lot of people, including myself sometimes. Because I'm like,
yeah,
I'm writing a feature film, and I'm like, God, like, this sucks. I'm a bad writer. Like, what the fuck? But then it's like, you can't give up. You just got to you got to do it. Like,
yeah,
even though it's vulnerable and it's hard, like, you just have to get over the fear and just do it.
yeah. Speaking of just doing it and like doing cool things or feature films as you're kind of throwing in here. Um, are there like as we kind of wrap up here, are there any upcoming projects that like so we know okay, so let's recap. So because things that I didn't expect to hear. So Stream 2, that's like on the table, right? Like that's like that will
It's in the works right
okay.
now. I can't say like 100% it's greenlit. We're ready to shoot tomorrow. That's not the
Yeah.
case, but it is in the works. The first stream has a pretty decent fan base. I think we're just
Mhm.
trying to get our numbers up. Um,
Yeah.
and then, but the script is being written and it's in the works.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. And hopefully
Okay.
there's not a global pandemic when we shoot this one.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be a nice game changer.
Yeah, right.
And in Terrifier 4, that obviously
Right,
we
right.
know that that's happening, and I will be supplying the whiskey for you during that. So that's greenlit. Is there anything else, like any other projects like for JFR Media,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
anything
yeah,
that
yeah.
you
So, there's one project I can't really get too deep into it right now, for like NDA reasons. But when we were talking about franchises earlier, there's something in the works right now that we're shooting later this month. Hopefully, that gets well received, and we
okay?
can kind of take the next step after that. That's really all I can say about it.
Okay.
Um, we also, I've also, so I have I hate talking about things that I haven't like fully fleshed out because then I feel like what happens if it doesn't if it
It
doesn't
doesn't
happen.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't
But
matter.
so I have a feature that is being revised right now by a screenwriter. So hopefully that, that's got some potential behind it. And I have a few people interested. We'll see what happens.
Nice.
Stream two. And then I have this mini series that I'm working on writing called Densmore. I shot a proof of concept for it back in 2018. I think I released it in 2020. It's a proof of concept for a feature, but I decided to scrap the feature, and I think it'd be better as a mini series.
Oh,
So
cool.
I hired a small team of writers, and we're working together to finish the pilot, and then
Mhm.
we'll put together a pitch deck. And I talked to my team about it, and they seem interested and on board with it. So hopefully, we'll have something before the end of the summer. We'll have something more tangible. And then the last thing is Scaricon, and it's that horror convention that we're running in September in Syracuse. So if you feel
Nice.
like traveling down from
It's in September?
it's in September, yeah, September
Okay.
5th to the 7th.
Okay, I'm gonna legit. I'm gonna try to make it down. Syracuse is like 3 to 4 hour drive for me, I think. So it's not
Re
too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, I like okay, okay,
Yeah, it's in Marriott Syracuse downtown, I think. It used to be Hotel Syracuse,
yeah,
but yeah, so we have some good names from that. Good names guests coming in for that, and then we're hoping to secure some more guests by the end of this week. So that'll be exciting. I'm running the film festival, so if you have any films or know
okay,
anyone that has any horror films that they want to submit, I'm judging all the films right now.
nice.
It's been a long process. It's like 25 hours of movies that I've been watching just every like weekend, just like trying to get through a few at a
That
time.
that's crazy. Is there any? I mean, I don't know how far ahead you know your schedule, but like so with Rue Morgue and kind of working with them, I host panels at Frightmare in the Falls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if any of your team will be out there. So like obviously Damien and David have been out there. Um, who else was there last year? Someone else from your team, producer.
Phil Falcone,
No,
maybe?
wait, I think Phil's been there. Was it Diamond?
Bill Diamond. Yeah,
Bill
Bill
Diamond.
Diamond.
Bill
Yeah.
Diamond. Yeah, Bill Diamond was there last year, I believe. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I love it because I get to be involved in host panels, which is awesome. And sometimes I sneak whiskey in. So yeah, I
What
mean,
is it called? Frightmare in the
right
Falls.
in the falls, yeah. And they usually have like a good drawing. Like I said, like David's been there to David and Damien and
Oh
like
my God. Yeah, the first picture has Art the Clown right
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
there.
they were a hit. And like it's crazy because as a side note, like that festival, so walking around there, if you go to any other festival, like Eli Roth was there
Yeah.
last year, and it's busy, but it's not crazy. So like you're walking up and like Eli Roth has like two people there. You can go up and chat with him. Where like if you went to any other festival, there's like a lineup around the block
Hmm.
to go see these people. So yeah, it was cool. My
So
whole
it's
point
like
is
more
like
intimate in that sense, you
yeah,
mean?
like it's still a big venue, which is weird, but like it just I feel like they do a good like they have a good draw, but over the 3 days, like I feel like it never feels chaotic or crazy.
That's
And
cool.
despite like the big names, and I thought it'd be like even more busy because like the border's right there. So if you're like again like somewhere not far out in the US, you can come over and check it out. Or if you're in Canada, we don't get too many of these cons. Like in even shockingly, even like in Toronto, as a city, we don't get much. So everyone goes to Frightmare in the Falls.
Oh,
If
that's
you're
so
listening
cool.
to this, like, and you haven't, I mean, Terrifier, I feel like is a layup, like in terms of like, if you're probably listening to this, you probably watched Terrifier. But if you haven't watched Stream or Screamboat, like, do yourself the favor, check it out, and then I want to hear your thoughts. So, like, go off and then give me your pairings too. Like, I haven't paired. Well, Screamboat just came out, so I need to do a whiskey pairing with Screamboat, but I haven't paired
Oh,
Stream yet
okay.
either.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna like toss it to like other people for like some inspiration in terms of like
You have to do
maybe
the emotional pairing. You have to
I
watch
gotta go, I gotta
stream.
go.
You have to watch stream and be like, what do I feel? Like, do I need a kick in the face? Do I need a hug? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's how you have to do
In terms of audience, remember to do the like yes, like, subscribe. That shit's like obvious plug, but like I want to
it.
hear I like hearing like what people are watching, what they're drinking and like their own pairings. So I'm like if you watch Screamboat or Stream,
Yes, let us know. Let us know what you
yes.
think too of the movies as well. If you love
Uh,
them, if you hate them, that's okay. That's okay.
yeah,
Tell
if
us.
you're
Talk
if you're a
about it.
highbrow critic and you want to like talk about what was wrong in a shot, then
If you
let
want to
us.
ask me, I'll tell you what was wrong in the shot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun. Honestly, like probably like one of the most fun like podcasts I've been a part of. So thank you so
Uh,
much for having me.
amazing. I feel the same way. I get to do this. I get to talk to amazing people, but nothing's better than when you just like get to hang out and connect with someone and do this.
Laugh,
So
yeah.
thank you for sharing all your stories and everything. So Jamie, with that, I'm gonna finish this drink and cheers. Remember everyone, stay spooky.
Cheers. I have to
Cheers.
open a new one. Cheers.